The differences that started between the founder of Pakistan, Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, and the first Prime Minister Liaqat Ali Khan during Jinnah's life, remained the cause of constant friction between Fatima Jinnah and Liaqat Ali Khan. Even after their death, the relations between the two had become so strained that Liaqat Ali Khan used every trick to keep Fatima Jinnah away from politics. Even after Jinnah's death, Fatima Jinnah was not allowed to address the nation through Radio Pakistan on the occasion of the founder of Pakistan's anniversary for 2 years despite her wish. And when she was allowed to speak on the 3rd year, her speech was censored. This series did not end even after Liaqat Ali Khan's assassination in 1951, because Fatima Jinnah refused to accept Ayub Khan's dictatorial regime. In General Ayub Khan's era, too, first the mother of the nation Fatima Jinnah was humiliated and defeated in the presidential elections, and then after her death, an attempt was made to prevent her from being buried in the vicinity of her brother, the founder of Pakistan, Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah. But Ayub Khan had to do this out of fear of public anger. However, even at the time of the mother of the nation's funeral, there was a riot and a regrettable incident of arson and looting also occurred. After Jinnah's death, the people saw Fatima Jinnah with the same respect and status as Jinnah himself. But it is a bitter truth that after Jinnah's death, Liaqat Ali Khan tried every possible effort to keep his sister away from politics. A study of history reveals that Liaqat Ali Khan's government did not want Fatima Jinnah to express her views freely. In this attempt, they went so far as to stop the broadcast of her live speech from Radio Pakistan. Remember that Fatima Jinnah and Liaqat Ali Khan had differences during Jinnah's life. Fatima Jinnah writes in her book My Brother about Muhammad Ali Jinnah that Liaqat Ali Khan was waiting for Jinnah's death. Qudratullah Shahab writes in his book Shahab Nama that after Jinnah's death, Fatima Jinnah and Liaqat remained in a cold war between the government. Jinnah's 2 anniversaries came and went. Both times, Miss Jinnah refused to address the nation on the occasion of the anniversary. Her condition was that she would not show the text of her speech to anyone before the broadcast, but the government was not willing to accept this condition. Probably it was afraid that Fatima Jinnah would criticize the government in her speech. Finally, by God's grace, it was decided that Miss Fatima Jinnah could read her speech without showing it to anyone, but when the speech was being broadcast, suddenly the transmission was stopped. A few moments later, the transmission resumed automatically. Later it was found out that there were some sentences in Miss Jinnah's speech that criticized the government. She read those sentences on the microphone as usual, but they could not be broadcast because of the transmission being stopped. There was a lot of noise about this. Fatima Jinnah was very angry. Many protest articles were also published in the newspapers. But Radio Pakistan's position was that the reason for the interruption in the transmission was the sudden power outage. But no one was ready to believe this. This one incident caused as much damage to Liaqat Ali Khan's government's public confidence as a few critical sentences of Miss Fatima Jinnah did not. This series ended in 1951 with Liaqat Ali Khan's assassination. But after Liaqat Ali Khan, Field Marshal Ayub Khan's military regime also adopted a hostile attitude towards Fatima Jinnah. On October 7, 1958, Sikandar Mirza imposed martial law in the country. Commander-in-Chief and self-proclaimed Field Marshal Ayub Khan was appointed as the administrator of martial law on October 24, 1958. Ayub Khan took over all the powers of Sikandar Mirza and established a military government in the country. He started dreaming of becoming the president of the country. The ruling convention Muslim League nominated President Ayub as the presidential candidate. Miss Fatima Jinnah was not initially willing to accept this nomination, but on the insistence of the opposition political parties, she agreed to contest the presidential election against Ayub Khan in order to save the country from dictatorship. The most tragic time during the presidential election campaign came when Ayub Khan's supporters started roaming around different parts of the country with Fatima Jinnah's electoral symbol, lantern, around the necks of stray dogs. The presidential election was held in January 1965. The opposition politicians were fully convinced that Miss Jinnah would be successful, but the military junta rigged the election and the election commission declared Ayub Khan successful. Due to these tensions between Ayub's government and Fatima Jinnah, the mother of the nation passed away suddenly in critical conditions. It is suspected that she was poisoned. After that, instead of burying her in the vicinity of the mausoleum of Quaid-e-Azam, an attempt was made to bury her in the old Muir Shah cemetery in Karachi. This attempt was opposed by the opposition, and the Commissioner of Karachi was warned that if Miss Fatima Jinnah was not buried in the vicinity of Quaid-e-Azam's mausoleum, there would be a riot. Thus, she was allowed to be buried in the vicinity of Quaid-e-Azam's mausoleum. The mother of the nation's grave was lost on the left side, 120 feet away from Quaid-e-Azam's mausoleum. The first funeral prayer of the deceased was offered at Qazi Fatima at 8:30 in the morning by Maulana Ibn Hassan Charjui, and then when her body was lifted from Qazi Fatima at 9 o'clock, thousands of eyes were tearful. Outside Qazi Fatima, there was a sea of people as far as the eye could see. Behind the funeral procession were the central government and President Ayub's Minister of Agriculture and Food Shamsuddauhar, members of the national and provincial assemblies, and the leaders of all political parties. Bowing their heads and moving slowly forward, Miss Fatima Jinnah's body was placed in an open macro van. On all four sides of it were four commanders of the Muslim League's National Guard. The funeral procession kept moving forward and the number of people increased. The procession reached Polo Ground at 10 o'clock, where the municipal corporation was waiting for the funeral. Here, the second funeral prayer was offered by Mufti Muhammad Shafi. After the funeral prayer, the body was put back in the car. It was 12 o'clock in the afternoon and the number of people had exceeded 6 lakhs. Suddenly, some people tried to get close to the funeral. The police tried to push them back peacefully, but a riot broke out and the police had to charge batons. Tear gas was also used, and in response, the police were stoned. Several policemen were injured. A petrol pump and a double-decker bus were set on fire. One person lost his life in this incident, and many women and children were also injured. At 12:35, with trembling hands, quivering lips, and wet eyes, the dust of Pakistan was lowered into the grave. As soon as the body was lowered into the grave, the crowd started crying and beating their chests. In the last rites of the burial, according to the Shia faith, Talqeen was recited, in which Fatima bint Punja was called. The grave was slowly closed, and at 12:30 Miss Fatima Jinnah's grave was leveled.